The next piece, we get to the science. So that was the social studies excerpt, right? So we talked about, that was about the speech, paired text, had the Federalist Papers involved, etc. So now we're going to dig into the science portion. So this was the one that I referenced as question 9, got you to this text. And it's the turtles using the Earth's magnetic field as the global GPS. So what we're going to use for this is text-dependent questions. All right. So if you're on my Google Doc with the strategy, I give the rationale around the text-dependent question, and I provide some different links. And you're going to find that actually that particular resource, pardon me, is from a person that really gets more into the science aspect. And so with the next generation science standards and this literacy focus with the Common Core state standards, we're really moving in this direction. So what we're going to have you do is we are going to have you look at designing a text-dependent question. All right? So this template that I've provided at your table is a template that allows you to do that. All right? It's going to allow you to put together a text-dependent question. So it's a text-dependent question worksheet. All right? So if you haven't grabbed that yet, go ahead and grab it. And just take a second to look it over so you can see what's going on the document. And then I'll recenter us around what we're going to do for the next, it'll be short, it'll be 10 minutes. We'll have you just kind of analyze. But I just want to show you what we're going to do. But get used to this document for a second. Go ahead. Okay. So you had a chance to kind of look at it. So what we've provided then, obviously, again, here's that rationale. Here's the actual worksheet. So if you haven't delved into this idea of this text-dependent piece, this is kind of a new, I mean, it's not a new strategy, of course, but it's found renewed vigor with Common Core state standards. One of the things, you'll notice I've got David Probst here. So this, he's written a book called the Notice, Note, and Notice, right? So there's this new book, Note and Notice, called The Signposts, right? So there's a really good video where he's describing the concept of close reading. And in it, he describes the idea that when students do close reading, we've always asked them to answer questions about that close reading. What he shares in that video is that the questions that we ask of kids are the questions that we want the answers to. And so what he challenges is that even though the excerpt's really about close reading, what he brings out is the questions we ask have to be asked in such a way that the students share what that text is saying to them, and then provide the evidence from it. And so it's a different aspect. And in it, he says, yeah, the kids were really good at answering the questions I wanted them to answer because I knew what the answers were to the questions I was asking. And if I didn't get that, that wasn't what the answer was. And he talks about broadening that. So to broaden that perspective, text-dependent questions can allow for that. So there are different types of text-dependent questions. You can get into those different by clicking on this link, and then there is samples of text-dependent questions that you might write for an informational text piece or possibly a piece of literature. And these two texts are in the Common Core appendice. So I'll click on this real quick. So when we talk about these text-dependent questions, and again, I kind of alluded to this even in guided highlighted reading, we want to be asking different questions. So there's the right there questions, right? The literal questions. Standard number 1 or maybe standard number 3 where it cite specific evidence right in the text, quotes or other items. And then it says as well as inferred pieces. So that you've got inferential questions that you may ask. We just got done talking, Casey did a nice job of re-hitting on academic vocabulary, and Dan re-emphasized, yeah, let's go deeper with that, right? So how do we ask questions that focus on that academic vocabulary? Maybe there's questions that get into what's the structure. So there's lots of different styles of text-dependent questions that we can ask. It's just how are we going about asking them, and are they really getting to the heart of that? And so by bringing this strategy to you and these tools to you, it gives you a very long way of asking a question, but a way that if you do it intentionally, which is what really with these new standards and this new analysis of instruction itself is, how are we just really being more intentional in doing the things that we're doing? And so this is just a little process. If you've gone through this work before, it's maybe a refresher. But what I want to do is have you look at that science excerpt, which was on question 9, the turtles, and see if you guys as a table can generate a text-dependent question. I don't mind if it's a right there question, maybe it's an inferential question, Maybe it's a text structure piece. But just take a shot at writing a text-dependent question. Use some of the prompts here, use the links online, and then there's a little checklist at the bottom. Just take a shot at that, and what we'll do at the end of this is have you just kind of share out at your tables or maybe to a table next to you what your text-dependent question is that you generated. And we'll go around and have tables share that question out. So we'll give you 10 minutes to see what you can come up with, and we'll see what we've got to share out. And like I said, at 12:20 or at 11:25, we are going to break for lunch. So we might have to cut a little bit short, but I'm trying to get the strategy to you, and I want to also try to get Casey the opportunity to follow up with the English language learner consideration. So any questions you might have for the group, and I'll come and check in as well. All right, thanks. Dive into a question for us. You really got into the activity, and I appreciate that. I saw a lot of people really putting that thinking forward. So, and I also found a table that's going to share one of their questions, so I'll turn it over. Thank you to this table.
Oh boy. Oh boy. All right, let me see. Is the mic testing? Can you hear me? Okay. This is probably not going to be a perfect question. It'll probably get torn apart. Other way around?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. I'm talking into the wrong thing here. So we're looking at the turtles, and we're kind of looking at this. This is a right there question. And again, I'm not an English teacher, so I'm a social studies teacher. So please, or I was, please bear with me. Basically, what does Young say to explain how the turtles or what the turtles use to guide their voyage? Because a right there question is something you can pull right out of the text. And we're coming up with an inferential question. That's a little bit harder. But the right there question is essentially just pulling out exactly what the author is saying that the turtles use to guide them through this long distance voyage.
All right. Thank you very much. Excellent question. Excellent. Thanks for that table for putting yourselves out there. And again, thanks to everybody for that work. So the text-dependent questions and moving into that and analyzing.